everybody, Terry Carl Joy Edian here with Chapter 3 of Doreen Virtue's book, Divine Guidance, which is Opening to Divine Guidance, Healing Our Relationship with God. Also a great chapter. The main point I got out of this is that if we're feeling separate from God, and I think you probably have heard this before, it's us separating from God or feeling separate or moving away from God or Source. It's not the other way around. We're always one with Source. And so what this is really about is doing our part, which doesn't have to be huge, to make that reconnection from our end, because it's always coming from that end. We may have cut it off, but we can reopen it. Sometimes people think that they're not connected with guidance because they didn't listen to something that was suggested. And Doreen says that's simply not true. She said there was a time where she was receiving guidance about her car. She had a nice car and she was receiving guidance to close the top. And she was running late, so she didn't. And she ended up almost getting robbed, but Source or the angels didn't give up. They told her as she was about to get robbed, to scream, and she did, and she alerted people around her, and they started honking their cars, and the robbers ran off. So they stick with you. They want to help you, even if you don't heed their advice at all. They're always feeding you. They're always ready to give you further feedback, but you have free will. So it's all about you wanting it, wanting to hear it. Doreen said even though she was following divine guidance and she became a healer and author, she still wasn't trusting her intuition. And what I got from this next part is that she made the decision at one point to put her attention more on it. So she was studying, she was researching intuition and spiritual communication, she was learning about the different clairs. She enrolled in psychic development and mediumship courses, interviewed spiritual communicators like Rosemary Altea and Danian Brinkley. She looked into scientific research and learned about the verified existence of ESP and telepathy. And something that she discovered from the work of Dr. William McDonald of Ohio State University is that people who pray had the highest numbers of verifiable telepathic instances. Because prayer is, in a sense, mind-to-mind communication with God. This is coming again to the practice. As with anything, it's about putting the attention. It's about taking the action. I think this is the message that I need to hear with my own divine communication. Just do it. Even if it feels uncomfortable, keep seeing what works. Keep playing with it. She said, my experience and research helped to move me from a state of skepticism mixed with hopefulness into a state where I knew that divine communication was natural and beneficial. I developed the habit of regularly asking for guidance on matters such as parenting, health, my career, and directions while driving my car. Then she talks a little bit more about her ego. She was still having some blockages with divine communication because she felt she was at odds with what God wanted, with what Source wanted. That separateness again. But then she had this epiphany that since Source and Source's will were omnipresent, that will is identical with her own. God's will and my will are one, is what she said. So you're not at odds with Source. You're one with Source. Your will and Source's will are the same because you are one. We are all one. What the true I wanted Source wanted for me also. And then she said after that point, feelings of competition or jealousy towards others didn't arise. Instead, whenever she'd hear about someone who was contributing to light and love for the world, she would applaud them because she now understood that we were all vitally needed in God's great plan. So that was the dark night of the soul for her. And then she recognized the need to be healed of beliefs and blocks that kept her from having full faith. And she started practicing asking for more faith. She said it's very common, and she was in the place where she would, reach out in situations where she was struggling or she was in dangerous situations, but for the rest of her life she wanted to be left alone. She didn't want to be on heavenly display. But she wants us to know that Source, the angels, don't see us as physical beings. They see us as our true spirits. And they watch how our thought forms affect our self-image and our future decisions. They love us unconditionally. And they don't have any fear. We have fear because we fear losing something, which she said is at the core of any judgment. A fear of lack, a fear of losing, attachment. But that doesn't exist in the realm of Source and angels. Only love. Sometimes people feel neglected because they believe Source didn't answer their prayers, or they think there's not enough to go around. We may be afraid we'll hear something that's different from our expectations. So we need to have a willingness to heal those feelings. She says sometimes we have disconnections because of past experiences. Could be with religion, it could be with a cult, it could be with, again, a situation where you prayed to God and you didn't feel like you were listened to. And it's okay to express that to Source. We can say, I'm really angry with you because of blah, blah, blah. Because Source knows anyway. Source knows all. If we're not being vulnerable, if we're not being truthful, that's when we get muddy. That's when the communication is not clear. If you think about when someone is really honest with you and really vulnerable with you, how you make that connection, that heart-to-heart connection. I don't know if you can feel it. I can. It's beautiful, and sometimes it makes me cry. That's what opens that heart. That's what helps you make that connection with Source. So Source will take everything. Source doesn't experience anger or fear anyway. So it's just going to experience, she says, the love beneath those feelings. The desire to be loved, accepted, listened to. That's what Source will hear. If you're not muddy, if you're being completely honest, when you're ready to hear divine guidance, it comes automatically. If you're scared about it, then the guidance may come as a whisper so that you are able to receive it. But make sure you truly desire that guidance from Source and angels. You need to receive complete guidance. Our request for assistance must be complete, not half praying. And if you ask for assistance in healing away fears, doubts, and lack of faith, you will be amazed at how rapidly you feel faith-filled after making this request. You just need to be sincere. This is interesting because, as I mentioned in previous videos, Doreen Virtue also has an Angel Numbers 101 book that I refer to quite frequently. And a lot of times faith comes up. Have faith, ask the angels to have more faith. I'm like, what? Ask the angels to have more faith? So I don't have to have faith in the angels. Just ask. Just ask. Just throw it out there. I would like to have more faith. And it will be answered. She has a prayer for beginning communication at the end of the book. I took a little screenshot with my phone. I took a little pic. And this is what it is. Dearest God, or Source, or Force, or however you want to start it, please help me to release the fears that keep me from hearing your guidance and feeling your love. Please help me to release the fears that keep me from enjoying full faith in you and in myself. Thank you. Amen. So I'll leave you with that. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Happy guidance to you and angel dust. Bye now.